So the Sevens Rugby at the Olympics has burst into life, hasn't it? Here's my thoughts on the first couple of days of rugby and a look ahead to those medal matches, which will be happening tomorrow as I record this. I'm Tim, this is Egg Chasers. Your comments down below. Give the video a thumbs up and hit subscribe as well. I'll tell you what I want to ask as well. Tell me what you in the comments. Where do you stand on sevens generally? Before I get into the actual action at the Stade de France, where do you stand on sevens overall? I think sevens to me, it's a little bit like my relationship with tennis and golf. In as much as I don't watch any of the PGA or the Live Tour or whatever in golf, but I'll get obsessed about the Ryder Cup and I will watch every minute of that and be absorbed by it and become an expert in it. Same with tennis, don't really watch it, and then I'll just get all in on Wimbledon. It's a little bit like that with the Olympics and sevens. I'll catch a bit of the sevens series from time to time if it's on and if I've got time. There's so much 15-a-side rugby, it's hard to find the time. But if it's on, I'll definitely watch it. But when it's Olympics time, I am all in. The magnitude of the event, what it means, what that gold medal signifies, the crowd is a massive part of why I'm all in on the sevens. And I mentioned the crowd. The sevens series gets some really good crowds, particularly you think about Hong Kong. Massively attended, amazing spectacle that has been over the years. But there's a phrase about the Hong Kong Sevens that people say. They say if you get bored at the Hong Kong Sevens, you can always turn around and watch the rugby. That crowd congregate to be with like-minded people and basically just get on it for a few days, and it looks like lots of fun. But the sevens at the Olympics, the crowd were totally absorbed with the action on the pitch, and the atmosphere was amazing, particularly when France were involved, as I will talk about, obviously, and Antoine Dupont, of course. But the sevens and 15s, it's such different sports. Almost a little bit too different, I'd argue. I think World Rugby, and I've talked about this on the channel before, I think World Rugby missed a trick, making it sevens and not tens. I think tens would have been the perfect short form of the game because it would have been possible for 15-a-side players to play a 10-a-side short version of the game, whereas 7-a-side, it's near impossible for most players, the vast majority of players, to go from 15s to 7s and back again. Really, really hard, which is why the people that can manage it, like Antoine Dupont, they definitely deserve a lot of respect. So maybe that's something World Rugby can look at. I wonder about 7s being so different from 15s. Does it actually hinder, not help each other? But that's a thought. That's my thoughts anyway. Yours in the comments down below. As for the story so far, 12 teams qualified to compete in the Olympics. Realistically, 3 of those teams had no chance at a medal. Japan, Uruguay and Kenya. Samoa, outsiders, but they were capable of an upset. But really, 8, maybe 9 teams, it was wide open in a way that the Rugby World Cup 15-a-side cannot claim to be. That's the aim, isn't it? You want to arrive at a Rugby World Cup where a big number of teams can realistically say they are gold medal or world champion hopefuls. That is the case in the Rugby Sevens, and that's added to the interest. The competitiveness is added to the interest in this game, and those quarter-final matchups on day 2 yesterday were absolutely awesome. And as much as I say that sevens is very different to 15s, can I just credit Ireland for honouring the long-standing, deep-rooted traditions of the game, gallantly losing in a quarter-final. I'm joking, of course, Ireland fans. I know that one must sting, but honestly, that game against Fiji was ace. It was as tense as it has been so far. 3 tries apiece. Crucially, Ireland not getting their conversions, Fiji getting a couple of theirs, and that was the difference between the two sides. 4 minutes into injury time, and Ireland are banging on the door, phase after phase, trying to get that winning score and eventually knock on, and the game is over. It was a really interesting clash of styles as well. Ireland very structured, very happy recycling the ball at the breakdown, the best breakdown team, versus Fiji, who are unstructured, broken field, instinctive, and that clash was really fascinating to watch. Ireland were 3 tries to 1 up and looked like they had the better of Fiji, but Fiji just found another gear. They haven't been playing at the level they're capable of that has won them 2 gold medals recently in the sevens, but they always bring it at Olympics time. What it means to that country cannot be underestimated. And yeah, eventually got the winning try, which was an awesome match, but courtesy of a bit of a volleyball tap at a restart, which to many and I looked forward. Where do you stand on that? It looked to me like it was forward, but then on more views of it, and there was no definitive view, crucially. But on no view of it did it look absolutely nailed on forward. It looked like it probably could have been forward, might have been flat. There was nothing conclusive about it. So I'm okay with the try being awarded. And actually, to be fair to Ireland fans, I haven't seen many of this. I've seen most Ireland fans saying what I'm about to say, which is take care of your restart and it becomes irrelevant. And control the things you can control, and you've got no reason why you should even have to moan about whether a try should have been given or not. Ireland didn't take care of business, and they only have themselves to blame for that one. And of all people, someone so good in the air, it was Hugo Keenan that didn't manage to regather the ball. Ireland's restarts in general weren't good enough, and that's why they lost. So I don't think there's any reason for complaint there, because take care of your restarts. They call it the third set piece in rugby, and so it seemed to be. Take care of that, and Ireland go through. Fiji will play Australia, who swept aside the USA. Quite a disappointing USA performance in that one. Didn't seem to be able to even catch the ball. I know the conditions are quite muggy in Paris at the minute, so maybe that's why. But Australia, you have to credit their defence. The best defence in the competition that I've seen so far, and seeing them against Fiji is going to be a really interesting matchup. This is the furthest that Australia have been in an Olympic Games. They're in the medal matches potentially, and if they win the semi-final, obviously they're guaranteed a medal, but they'll be playing for a bronze medal at the very least, even if they lose. And the reason Australia, and for all the talk about Antoine Dupont and his transition from 15s to 7s, don't forget about Mark Noanganitawase, Marky Mark. He's also done likewise. The reason that Australia earned that fixture against USA, much more beatable opponent than some of the other matches, is because they beat Argentina in the final pool match. The World Series champions are out after their quarter-final. Now, I did some videos in the build-up to the Olympic Sevens. You've seen it in the channel. I did one on Antoine Dupont, and I did one on some players to watch out for at the tournament. And I did that mainly because there was a lot of people who didn't even know it was happening. Because the opening ceremony is tonight, a lot of people didn't realise the rugby was starting before the opening ceremony. So I just wanted to get the word out there. That was my intention. So I just thought I'll pick some players that I like and some footage that I've got my hands on. Got in touch with the guys behind the Sevens series, asked them for a bit of footage. They sent me some and I put it out just to try and drum up a bit of interest. And I'll be honest, as a result, I was a little bit demoralised about the number of comments saying, what about Argentina? Yeah, I didn't pick an Argentina player in the seven. That wasn't... I got accused of disrespecting Argentina. Was not my intention. I was just trying to be enthusiastic about the sevens in general, rather than saying which players... rather than, it was not disrespecting any players I didn't mention. There was a lot of players I didn't mention. Anyway, as it happens, now I look like some sort of savant because Argentina went out, lost to France, and the atmosphere in that stadium for that game was unreal. And really, to me, it looked like Argentina did not handle the occasion, and they just unravelled. They crumbled. And what was it, 21-0 up, France were. Argentina did actually finally hit reset and click into gear, but it was too little too late. And as the clock was going into the red at the end of the match, France 21 points to 14 up. Antoine Dupont, all he had to do was tap the ball from a penalty and then kick it into touch and game over. And he decided to carve through the Argentina side instead. I mean, a risky strategy, Antoine. Risky, because if he'd been tackled and the ball stolen and Argentina had gone on to level the match, he could have been a villain. As it is, he is a hero and has given us already one of the iconic images from the Olympics, that picture there. So France on home soil will be in the medal matches. They'll play in the semi-final tomorrow against South Africa, and the winner of that is in the gold medal match. The loser is in that playoff for bronze. And let me just say again, South Africa against France in Paris. Where have we seen that before? The atmosphere is going to be amazing. And on that, actually, Argentina got booed a lot by the crowd over the last couple of days. That's because I gather some beef between French and Argentina in football. that they've not got over. And the crowd have been booing South Africa as well, because I gather because the fans in Paris haven't got over the quarter-final of the Rugby World Cup last year. And there's a lot of people going, oh, that's not rugby values, what's with all the booing? I get it. I also, if I'm honest, I quite like it. I quite like how different countries and different crowds have different kind of styles. I was out in South Africa recently, and the crowd at Loftus, so hostile, in Pretoria, so hostile, and I loved it. Equally, as I've talked about, I love the fact the Springbok DJ will just bust out Belinda Carlisle in the middle of a rugby match. It works there. When you go to Dublin, to the Aviva Stadium, it is the most respectful, silent crowd you will ever find for kicks at goal. And I love that about the Irish crowd. They are so respectful. And I also kind of like that in France, you get a bit of booing. You might not like me for saying it. I actually quite like it. And what's more, I think, here's my prediction. I think it could end up helping South Africa in that semi-final. I think it helped them in the quarter-final. One thing I've sort of been wrestling with a little bit, having spent some time in South Africa and understanding the psyche there, is South Africa are at their best when they feel like they're fighting against something, when there's some sort of unifying force that they have to come together and fight against. And the booing from the crowd is exactly the sort of thing that will play into that psyche and will galvanise them and help them squeeze an extra few percent out of them. So potentially it could backfire for that French crowd. I actually think that hostility is what brought a little bit extra out of South Africa, because their win against New Zealand was probably the most unexpected result of all of them. 14 points to 7, an amazing result, and particularly containing New Zealand to just one score, and huge defensive effort and taking their chances when they had them was absolutely fantastic. And it has set up some amazing semi-finals. These are going to be taking place, these times are UK times, so obviously in your time zone it might be different, but 2:30 p.m. UK time, so that'll be 3:30 p.m. in France and in South Africa is when the first semi-final will happen between France and South Africa. And in that stadium, those two teams, it doesn't matter that it's 7-a-side, not 15s. That's going to have some edge to it, isn't it? And then at 3 o'clock UK time, 4 p.m. in France or in South Africa, or obviously a very different time in Fiji and Australia. But I'm sure there'll be a lot of people, particularly in Fiji, who will be, whatever time of day or night it is, will be awake and watching that one. Fiji versus Australia. The winner goes through to the gold medal match. The loser in the playoff for bronze. And the finals will take place at 6 p.m. UK time is the final tomorrow evening, and 6:45 p.m. is the gold medal match. The bronze final, 6 p.m. The gold medal match at 6:45 p.m. tomorrow evening UK time. So I will absolutely be glued to that. I'm sure I'll have some reaction on the channel coming after that. Can Fiji make it 3 in a row? There's something quite... I don't know how you can't... I'm a neutral in this. Obviously, Great Britain didn't even qualify. But even if Great Britain were in the tournament, there would be a bit of me just thinking it would be pretty cool if Fiji won it again. Knowing what it means to the people of that nation would be pretty special. Equally, Antoine Dupont could just extend his reputation as a bit of a legend of the sport if he goes on and gets a gold medal. And for Australia and South Africa, well, it would represent an enormous overachievement. South Africa only qualified through the repechage, beating Great Britain in the final there. So they only got through by the skin of their teeth. And Australia will have done it very much the hard way. So, yeah, let's see. Let's see. Thank you very much. Tell me what you think in the comments down below. Are you watching it? Are you interested? And what do you think about the sport overall? How big a role has Sevens got to play in the growth of our sport? I don't know. I'm on the fence with that one, but I'm enjoying the rugby, that's for sure. And I'll be doing it on videos coming soon. I'll see you on the next one.